and you've made what happened in Texas a centerpiece of your campaign. You often speak about how Texas has added more than 2.2 million new jobs while you were governor. But as you note, the poverty rate is also going up, including in Texas, 1.5 million more people in poverty. Does that say something about your economic stewardship as well?
Well, when you look at the supplemental poverty rate, because you have to take into account the cost of living, and that's what I really try to get people to focus on. The poverty rate, the supplemental poverty rate in California and New York are both substantially higher than in the state of Texas. So folks who, our goal is to try to move as many people out of the lower economic levels as we can, and we've done a really good job. We added over 6 million people to the population of the state of Texas during that decade plus that I was the governor of the state of Texas. So I will argue strongly that we put economic policies in place where people could have jobs, they could have better jobs, they could move up economically, and we did. When we talk about high school graduation rates, there's nothing more important that I can send a message to a family that we graduated your child from high school, to give them that key to the future. And African American and Hispanic students have the highest high school graduation rates in America. So this is a state that unquestionably is giving people greater opportunity. We keep the cost of living down. People get to keep more of what they earn, and that's one of the reasons that you saw people move to the state of Texas in record numbers over the last 14 years. You've
been sounding a bit populist sometimes on the stump. Let me play for you some of what some candidates on the other side of the aisle have been saying about the stump about economic inequality, and also yourself.
This type of rigged economy is not what America is supposed to be about.
The deck is still stacked in favor of those at the top.
The American people, they see this rigged game where the insiders get rich, the middle class pays the tab.
Now, obviously, populism is not just on the left, it's on the right as well. But how do you respond to critics who say this language you're using about the deck being stacked or the game being rigged is great, but that your policies don't necessarily match up to what you're talking about, that you haven't proposed anything that would offend anybody on Wall Street?
Well, obviously, we'll be laying out some policies that do, in fact, do away with things like Dodd-Frank, policies that are smart regulations. I do think that when small community banks are struggling to stay open, that's a real problem all across this country. I grew up in a very rural area, Jake. I grew up 16 miles from the closest place that had a post office in a very, very rural community, a house that didn't have running water until I was up in my 5, 6, 7-year-old age, and it had an impact on me. Seeing how my parents had to work hard to be able to get ahead, and they were able to allow my sister and myself to go off to college, and I want that for every American. And the fact is, we have policies in this country that's too big to fail. There shouldn't be a company or a bank in this country that's too big to fail. And we'll be laying out some very clear policies, very clear concepts of how to make our economy fair, where more people get to enjoy economic freedom. We need to lower the corporate tax rate. We got the highest corporate tax rate in the Western world. Use our energy resources, open up the XL pipeline, have a North American energy strategy that will drive down the cost of electricity. You couple that with the corporate tax lowering, it does two things. It will raise the mid-level wages, and it'll also give incentives to bring people back who moved offshore with their manufacturing. We can have the greatest renaissance in the history of this country in manufacturing if we'll put a few good policies, and obviously a leadership change at the top is the key to that. So I look forward to not only laying out some great ideas about how to get this economy going, but where more Americans get to enjoy and participate in it.
I guess the disconnect that some people might ask about is you talk about the game being fixed, the deck being stacked, and then you talk about lowering the corporate tax rate.
Because I believe supply-side economics work. I know it does. I saw it happen in the state of Texas. We had the largest tax cut in Texas history in the mid part of the 2000s here. And people will respond. They will risk their capital. They'll create jobs. that's the model that worked right here in the 12th largest economy in the world. I remind people, this is a pretty big economy. We're about the size of Canada or Australia. What we did here matters. And I think it's a great model for this country. You free these states up to compete against each other. I'm a big believer that one size fits all on health care, on education policy. That's not good for this country. Let these states compete against it. Louis Brandeis said the states were laboratories of innovation. They were supposed to experiment with novel ideas. And that from time to time a state will foul up, but at least it didn't destroy the republic. I really am concerned about Obamacare from the standpoint of it may have the impact economically and healthcare-wise really do great damage to this country.